Pearls have been prized for thousands of years. They appear in ancient jewelry, royal collections, and modern auction houses as markers of wealth. The rarest examples sell for millions and are treated as prized possessions and heirlooms. But in nature, pearls are not luxury items. They form accidentally when an irritant becomes trapped inside a shell. Most are small, imperfect, and common. Now, consider a creature that produces exactly one pearl in its entire lifetime. Not accidentally, not responsibly, but as a permanent object it carries with it. This is Clamperl, a water-type Pokémon whose defining feature is a single unusually large pearl with no obvious protective function. If Clamperl's pearls were evaluated the same way human pearls are, by rarity, formation, conditions, and biological cost, it would not be an ordinary gemstone. It would represent a level of value that biology almost never allows. This raises the question, how expensive would Clamperl's pearls actually be? In real mollusks, a pearl forms as a response to an intrusion, not as a functional structure. When a foreign particle becomes trapped between the soft tissue and the shell, the animal cannot remove it. Instead, it isolates the irritant. This isolation occurs through the secretion of nacre, also known as mother of pearl. Nacre consists primarily of crystalline calcium carbonate bound together with organic proteins. The mollusk deposits the material in successive layers around the irritant. The inputs required are readily available in aquatic environments: dissolved calcium ions, carbonate ions, water, and protein produced by the animal. These are the same materials used to build and repair the shell. Pearl formation, therefore, does not rely on exotic substances or specialized chemistry. Still, the process is slow. In cultured oysters, forming a pearl typically takes between 2 and 4 years, with nacre accumulating gradually over time. Energetically, calcification itself is relatively inexpensive. Measurements in oyster larvae suggest that producing 1 milligram of calcium carbonate requires just 1 joule of energy. The energetic cost of nacre deposition is less than 1% of an animal's total metabolic budget. We can safely assume this might also be true for Clamperl. Indeed, the surge of energy during the transformation to Huntail and Gorbis may instantaneously supply all the energy needed for a massive pearl to form. Despite this, most pearls are not valuable. Nacre layers are frequently uneven, interrupted, or poorly aligned. As a result, many natural pearls are irregular, dull, or structurally flawed. Even in controlled cultivation, a large proportion of pearls fail to develop the symmetry and surface quality associated with high economic value. In practical terms, a pearl is essentially a glorified container. It is built slowly, using common materials and modest energy, and only rarely results in a perfectly round, lustrous structure. We don't need to assume anything extravagant for Clamperl to exist. Let's say Clamperl live in ordinary seawater with chemical conditions typical of coastal or reef environments. Calcium and carbonate ion concentrations are taken to fall within normal marine ranges. Clamperl are large bivalve mollusks, similar in physiology to a giant clam. They are therefore filter feeders that obtain all required nutrients from suspended food particles and dissolved minerals in seawater. Typically, Clamperl have pearls that are about a quarter of their overall size, but according to the Pokédex, the pearl can get too big to fit inside the shell, meaning it must grow by as much as 500%. Nacre has a density of 2.6 to 2.7 grams per centimeters cubed, so that means the pearl could exceed 100 kilograms. However, if, for the time being, we look at Clamperl as it is normally, then to form a large large pearl with a mass on the order of 1 to 10 kilograms corresponds to a total energetic cost of approximately 1 million to 10 million joules, based on known calcification efficiencies. A bivalve of Clamperl's mass and size would be expected to have a resting metabolic output of 100,000 to 1 million joules. Spread over multiple years, the energetic cost of pearl formation would therefore correspond to several days to weeks of total metabolic expenditure. For a pearl of 100 kilograms, that would correspond to all its energy usage for an entire year straight. Given this is the only pearl Clamperl make in their lifetime, it is reasonable so long as it is distributed over a long growth period. After all, Clamperl still need energy to hunt and reproduce. Another problem is finding the resources for their calcification craft. So far, we have only considered the pearl, but the shell is also made of calcium carbonate. All calcium carbonate used in the pearl must be obtained from seawater via filtration and diet. While seawater contains abundant dissolved calcium ions, the Pokémon must actively concentrate these ions into solid calcium carbonate. This process is biologically feasible at any rate, because large bivalves such as the giant clam secrete thick shells. However, material allocated to the pearl cannot be simultaneously allocated to shell growth or repair. Still, the Clamperl may prioritize the development of their pearl, since a fully grown Clamperl will have a number of deep marks on its shell from battles, yet still manage to contain a perfectly formed pearl. There is another critical problem with a 100 kilogram pearl fitting in a shell that is only half as heavy. The surrounding soft tissue in the mantle cavity and the shell must be capable of supporting the mass of the pearl without mechanical failure. If a pearl increases in diameter by approximately 1 centimeter a year, Clamperl must live for many decades without its muscles weakening. Although we won't be exploring it today, it is surprising that a creature would expend so much energy to something that provides no direct defensive, nutritional, or reproductive benefit to the Pokémon. Possibly, Clamperl have been selectively engineered to divert energy to pearl formations solely for humans to benefit. Real-world pearl prices vary widely depending on size, symmetry, surface quality, and origin. Among commonly traded pearls, high-quality South Sea cultured pearls represent the upper end of typical market values. Individual pearls of approximately 1 centimeter diameter with a mass of just a few grams can sell for 10,000 to 20,000 USD. This corresponds to an approximate price range of 3,000 to 7,000 USD per gram. For a conservative high-end estimate, we can adopt a unit value of 3,000 USD per gram. At this valuation, a 1.5 kilogram pearl would have a market value of approximately 4 million USD. An alternative high-end benchmark can be obtained from exceptionally large natural pearls. The Giga Pearl, with a reported mass of 27.65 kilograms, has been valued at approximately 140 million CAD, corresponding to roughly 5 million USD per kilogram. Using this valuation, a 1.4 kilogram pearl would be worth approximately 7 million USD. A 140 kilogram pearl that is on the verge of its transformation would be 700 million USD. Therefore, considering historical valuations, it is reasonable to estimate that genuine Clamperl pearls would be auctioned at millions to hundreds of millions of USD, depending on the size of the pearl. From an energetic and material standpoint, producing a pearl with a mass on the order of 1 to 2 kilograms does not violate physical or metabolic limits. The total energetic cost on the order of a few million joules is small relative to the cumulative metabolic output of a large bivalve over multiple years. If naked deposition is spread over long time scales, the daily energy demand remains remains modest. Large bivalves in nature can survive for decades, indicating that Clamperl could plausibly accumulate a large pearl gradually without immediate physiological failure. In the short term, the process is feasible. Despite the short-term feasibility, sustained investment in pearl formation imposes a significant evolutionary cost. The pearl provides no direct functional benefit related to feeding, locomotion, defense, or reproduction. Time and resources allocated to naked deposition cannot be simultaneously allocated to shell thickening, tissue growth, or reproductive output. Even if the absolute energy cost is low, the opportunity cost associated with prolonged resource diversion is substantial. Over evolutionary timescales, traits that impose long-term costs without improving survival or reproductive success are typically selected against. This is why the ability to waste resources does not exist naturally. Natural selection selects for traits that are beneficial. In reality, the reason wild clams don't routinely have jewel-like pearls is that it's usually just a fluke, and often a useless one. Several conditions could also cause pearl formation to fail or reduce Clamperl's viability. Accelerating pearl growth would increase metabolic demand and could compromise maintenance, feeding efficiency, or shell integrity. Insufficient dietary intake or unfavorable water chemistry could limit calcium carbonate availability, preventing successful pearl formation. In addition, the presence of a large valuable internal structure could increase risk if it attracts predators or external exploitation. Any of these factors would reduce survival probability even if the underlying calcification process remains physically possible. So, using real-world valuation methods, Clamperl's single pearl would be extraordinarily expensive. For a pearl with a mass in the 1 to 2 kilogram range, even conservative pricing based on high-quality coated pearls places its value on the order of 1 to 10 million USD. If the pearl can grow to 100 times the size, the price can nearly reach $1 billion. From a physical and metabolic perspective, producing such a pearl is not impossible. The energetic and material costs of naked deposition fall within the lifetime budget of a large bivalve if distributed over many years. However, this does not make the trait biologically viable. The pearl provides no functional advantage related to survival or reproduction, yet requires prolonged diversion of time and resources. Over evolutionary timescales, such an investment would impose a severe opportunity cost and would be strongly selected against. This is why real-life mollusks have not evolved such a trait, since the biological return would not be worth producing an object worth so much value to a completely unrelated species. We've missed a key piece of information from the Pokédex, I noticed. Humans may be a completely unrelated species, but what if there exists a whole species that depend on Clamperl's pearls for their survival?